What would you imagine a guitar like this sounds like? Spoiler alert. Let's dive into this. Hey there, I'm Dan, the self-proclaimed Lonely Rocker. Thank you so much for joining me today. So yes, I have slept on D'Angelico guitars, but that ends today. We've got the D'Angelico Giacomo Turra Signature Bedford Semi-hollowbody. Yeah, that's a lot of words, but this is a very interesting guitar. Now I have to thank Sweetwater for this guitar. I actually saw this on the site and I said, hold on a second. This is an offset guitar. I've been really into offsets lately. So thankfully they agreed this would make a great video. So here it is. There's a link to this in the description. In fact, I have a whole store page at Sweetwater. If you want to check it out, a lot of the gear that I use here in the studio, I'll leave a link to that below. So Giacomo Turra is a killer player, a mean funk player. I mean, a bit of jazz funk. He rips up solos too. But the focus of this guitar likely came from his love for a lot of clean tones. These Supro pickups are very, very, very different. And I'll get into that and my thoughts on these pickups a little bit later. And I should mention, as always, I have got Stringjoy strings on here. I'm actually trying a set of 10 to 52s. So I typically use a 10 to 46 unless I'm using my big Hollowbody guitar, but a little bit heavier on the bottom here. But Stringjoy strings also available at Sweetwater. Anyways, I want to look at this as a studio instrument and I wanted to see where it was going to take me. I created some music. I'll talk about the process and some of the tones. You'll hear the tones that we can get out of this guitar. Now, an unlikely bedfellow for this guitar is this bad boy over here. This is the Angle Powerball 2. Now, originally I got this amp to be a high gain amplifier, but man, it offers a lot more than that. So I thought it would be a great combination to see how these two guys can work together. And to make it even more interesting, I'm running this into the Angle 4x12 double XL. I'm doing a lot of clean tones, but trust me, we're gonna have some rock as well. So anyways, let's dive into the first track. I'm gonna play that for you, and then I'm gonna talk about some of the tones that I created in there, and ultimately the feeling I got using this guitar, because I really wanted to explore the range that this guitar had to offer. So let's check it out.
Welcome to the Smooth Jazz Hour here on Lonely Rocker.
Yeah, that was a little bit different for the channel. Now, I love all styles of music. I like exploring all kinds of different tones. The guitar is such an amazing instrument for that. Now, I do focus a lot on the more rock side of me for this channel, but I love jazz, I love blues, If it's got a guitar in it, I'm going to check it out. But I was really drawn to the clean tones at first with this guitar. I mean, Giacomo Turra's style lends itself to a lot of clean playing. He does some fiery leads as well, but really that's where I felt myself exploring first. I always say about clean playing is it keeps you honest as a guitar player. And these pickups kept me very, very honest, especially the first two positions. Very, very reactive in the top end, a lot of bite and crystal clear. I mean, when I made a mistake, the whole neighborhood knew. Every little thing I did wrong, these pickups heard me. But I enjoyed that because it really pushed me as a player to get the parts right. And once I was there, it was certainly satisfying. And I really love the results. Like I said, especially these first two positions here, even the wash of reverbs and delays that I put on those sounds, there's so much definition in these pickups that you can really get that pick attack and that definition from the pickup and still have that wash of reverb. It's a really good platform for that type of style, absolutely. And one of my favorite positions, especially on a 3 pickup guitar, is that position 4, which is utilizing these 2 pickups here, the middle and the neck position. That kind of jazzy, clean kind of thing. Less twang than position 2. You know what I'm talking about? Little rounder on the shoulders there. By the way, those clean tones, I have to mention, I mean, the Angle Powerball 2, with a name like Powerball 2, has a really amazing clean channel and such a killer combination. And running this into the 4x12 double XL, which is in another room now, I can actually monitor properly here. I'm really excited about that. And I got the 2 Sennheiser mics on there, the 421 Compact and the E906. But that combination is constant for all the tones that you're hearing here in the video. But then the crunch tones, where the amp was loud, but I didn't push too much gain. And again, the definition coming out of this pickup is pretty uncanny. Hey, it's me a little bit in the future. Now, I went through this whole video thinking that this pickup here was a single coil pickup because it's listed as a single coil pickup on Sweetwater's website. But upon further review, I saw an interview with Giacomo Turra himself, and he referred to it as a mini bucker. So then I got curious. There's not a lot of information on it, but on D'Angelico's website, they call it a pickup based on a field coil design with the clarity of a single coil and the boldness of a humbucker, great for funk and vintage style tones. So I'm not really sure, but possibly it's not a single coil, maybe it's a mini bucker, but I think it makes my reaction to this pickup even more honest. We're going to explore that a little bit more in the next clip. But what I wanted to do, and my goal for this next track, was to look at those big classic rock tones with not a lot of gain. Again, using the crunch channel here on the Powerball 2, I dimed this amplifier, but I kept the gain pretty low, around 3 or 4. So it's really just that big sound, you double track it, and think kind of like Brian May from Queen, that kind of big open, very large sounding guitar, but you hear every single note and there definitely is not a lot of distortion in there. So that's what I was going for. So let's check it out. Oh man, I love that tone. Absolutely love that tone. That's one of those tones you say, okay, that's a keeper. I got to take down all those settings and we're going to replicate that one. That's just, again, different than something that I have been able to do with my existing inventory. It's always great to find an instrument that just gives you something different. And that's kind of what I felt when I first saw this guitar. I was hoping it was going to offer something different. And we cannot deny the angle in that clip. This was such a great combination. But this pickup is very bright, open, and airy, really lended itself to this kind of tone. Again, I had to be mindful of that. I took my time to shape it right. Now, the gain on this amp, I think, was only around 3 or 4. There wasn't a lot of distortion coming out of this amplifier, but I cranked it up. It was loud. And of course, I double tracked it just to give you that big sort of wide sounding guitar. And this amplifier, I love that combination. We're bringing that one back. So yeah, so I think, a guitar with a very traditional look to it that maybe lend itself to some clean playing and things like that. Well, it's a rock machine too. But that was consistent even through the solo as well. Again, you could hear the definition in that solo. Not a flurry of notes, but everything was very clean and defined and very snappy, right? Really, really snappy. And again, it sort of affects how you play. I love when a guitar does that. Certain guitars sort of push you a little bit differently. And this one definitely was pushing me in different directions because it responds differently. It just really, really does. All right, so the last track I want to show you here, actually introducing another piece of gear. I want to mention the Origin Effects Cali 76 compressor. Now we're going to see more of that on the channel coming up soon, but this is actually also available at Sweetwater, so I thought I would mention it. I just received it actually, and this next example is my attempt at some funk playing. I'm not going to say I'm at Giacomo Turra's level, but something that I was noodling around with that I thought would be a fun way to demonstrate the funkiness of this guitar. I'm primarily using, I believe, the 4th position. Again, I love that 4th position, but I also bring in this middle position. We've kind of ignored the middle position here for a little part of that. So we're going to funk out a little bit. And again, clean channel on the Engel Powerball 2. Let's check it out. Yeah, that was a funky little number. I had a lot of fun with that. I enjoy that kind of playing. I kind of abandoned it for a while, so it was nice to kind of bring it back. The snappiness of this guitar is, well, we cannot deny that. Like I said, that was primarily the 4th position, except for those harmonics. That was the middle pickup on its own, which is a very, very clear sounding pickup again. I mean, a lot of bite there as well. I can almost call this Strat territory. It's kind of like a very bitey, open sounding Strat. It looks nothing like a Stratocaster. It doesn't play like a Strat, but it kind of takes me there closer than anything I have. If you notice, I don't actually have a Strat here. So that's kind of, I think, where I would put this-ish. But it feels very different, and it just has an uncanny bite to it. I don't know how else to describe that. It was something that really got me at first, and I was like, oh, what is that? But once I sort of harnessed it, and I was able to tame that a little bit, I was able to use that to my advantage, because when you don't have definition, you can't bring it back. But when you have a lot of definition, you can tone it down as required. So ultimately opened up the range of possibilities with this guitar. And that little funky number, again, honorable mention to the Origin FX Cali 76. That's a stacked compressor to bring a little bit of that chewiness and consistency into that tone. I'm going to be exploring that pedal a bit more in upcoming videos, but I just wanted to slip it in here. And it worked really, really well. I had it in front, going in, again, into the clean channel of the Powerball 2, which has been definitely a wonderful sidekick here for this demonstration. So overall, I am really, really happy with this guitar. Just for one, it is a very, very different instrument than anything that I have, that I think I've ever played. I mean, I've played semi-hollows before. My number one is a semi-hollow. It's just a really cool instrument. It's very comfortable to play. I think they got the neck right for this one. It's not the smallest neck in the world, but I'm not calling it chunky. It's like, if I look at some of my guitars here, the LTD Phoenix 1000, it's maybe a little bit bigger than that. You've got the sort of the thin Cs here on the Schecters. Those are a lot smaller. My Gibson here is sort of that 59 profile, which will be the chunky one. So it's definitely smaller than that. Kind of a C with a touch of meat on it a little bit, but a very, very, very comfortable neck to play. Even the radius on the fretboard, it's just very, very even and comfortable, and just the attention to detail. And I have to admit, which I haven't mentioned, is that D'Angelico, being an American company, as a lot of the brands do, manufacture some of their lines in Korea or Indonesia. This one is actually manufactured in Indonesia, much like Schecter's and some of the ESB LTDs. This is not a budget guitar, and it's not an expensive guitar, definitely that sort of mid-range pricing. But being my first D'Angelico, hopefully I'll get a chance to explore more, but the attention to detail and the craftsmanship on this guitar is excellent. I mean, the frets here, nice clean finish on the frets here. I mean, the bindings on here are actually flawless. And I mean, you've got some high quality components on here, like these Grover Rotomatics here. But I love the style of these tuners, really, really nice. They're not locking tuners. It's the only upgrade I think I would consider, but I might not even bother because right now the guitar is working as it is. I just like the stylings on the volume and tone control here, and this really cool pick art here. And just a very, very, very unique instrument. And also, I love the blend from the neck to the sort of the heel joint here. Overall, I think this is a stellar guitar. I think at the price point, you're going to get a lot of mileage out of this guitar, and I definitely will be bringing this back. This is something that's going to be in regular rotation for sure. Anyways, if you do have any questions, any thoughts about this, I would love talking about that. Again, that's what the comment section is for. And I will have links in the description. Like I said, I've got my Sweetwater page, which has a whole bunch of gear that I use here on the channel. And clicking those links doesn't cost you anything, but if you do buy something, it kicks a little something to the studio and helps me keep doing this thing that I'm doing here, and I appreciate all of the help. Anyways, a big, big thank you once again to Sweetwater for providing this guitar. I absolutely love this instrument and really excited to see where I take this in the future. And you are going to see this on the channel again and again, and probably again too. So anyways, thanks for watching this video. Really appreciate it. If you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. And while you're down there, well, I have mentioned a couple of my other guitars. I've got a couple of them hiding behind me. Let's take a look at one of those again. I'm going to pop it right here. If you haven't seen it, if you want to check it out. And remember, you don't need a band to rock and roll. I'll catch you in the next one.